Okay, I'll quickly just say I'm Liz Steininger from Least Authority.
I'm Tanya from Least Authority.
Yeah, and I was here before. I'm Anna from the Zcash Foundation. Hi.
Oh, okay. So we did as Anna mentioned, we did a workshop earlier today about ZK proofs in real world, I think. Okay, yeah, I'm supposed to talk about this. So our workshop goal, we wanted to talk a little bit more about how to take the ideas, the theories, the practices of the math and everything of zero knowledge proofs, and how to actually apply those into real world circumstances where privacy is an issue. And we wanted to get the different groups that are involved in that kind of like pipeline of how things get out to the real end users, get those different people involved together and talking a little bit more about these cases, because we do feel that there's just a bigger need for knowledge sharing. This was something Anna and I have been talking about for a long time, and Tanya joined us on this effort too, that yeah, it's important to get these ideas from theory into practice. And so we thought that by having people get together and talk about some actual use cases, that this would just help everybody's brains get exercised on this and perhaps inspire some, follow-up stuff. Which, do you want to say anything about that?
So just to give you a general sense of the workshop, what we decided to do is we decided to keep it small, about 20 people. And we had like a rough outline of use cases, but we mostly discussed it with the group, and that we fine-tuned those use cases. And we thought it would be a cool structure to divide up into about like 4 groups, everybody discuss separately, and then come back together and present like your whatever outcomes you could actually create in 30 minutes. So, but the goal of this workshop also to like iterate on what Liz is saying is this is our first workshop of this sort, and we want to do more like that. So the call to action is if you have any topics, us at Least Authority and Anna Kaplan as well, we'd love to see like a longer form version of this. So this being the first iteration of that, I think it did pretty well. And we don't want to take up too much time of this. Anna's going to tell us about the use cases, and then one of the groups is going to present their concept.
So yeah, when we did the workshop today morning, we wanted the participants to actually like find their own use case, because we didn't want to make them talk about something. So actually, as we also thought, people came up with like tons of cool ideas, and we thought it's worth sharing. So of course, like finance and accounting, and specifically auditing, actually was one of the first topics that came up. And somebody said it's a very boring topic, but we should tackle it. And yeah, that's true. Like we should tackle it, even though it might be boring sense. The second thing was a very Berlin-specific thing as well, or like a Berlin-specific thing maybe, and for a lot of different cities as well. Applying for a flat is super annoying. So the idea of the participants was to find an anonymous way to actually say you have enough money to actually get the flat. The third idea was a proof of age for buying something online or any other kind of need where you would want to prove your age. Fourth idea was a passport control at the airport. There we had some difficulties, thinking, okay, we have to include the government and so on, and how to do that. The fifth idea that was discussed in for the use cases was a proof of humanness, because this is still not that perfect right now. So there was a tie in the end between the fifth and the sixth option, and the sixth option was actually voting systems. How should we vote? And when we voted actually on the use cases, there was a tie, but the participants decided to talk about voting systems. We built 4 groups, and one group came up with something super interesting, and they're going to present it. So I'm giving I'm giving over to Tim, and yeah.
Thanks a lot for organizing the workshop. I actually did not plan to support Lightning Talk today, but after seeing what another group, not the one I was in, came up with, I really felt that this is something we should share here and hopefully also validate in a proof of concept. So usually we would say it's a paradoxon that you actually bring it together, that you vote anonymously and that you get provable correctness. The group which was presenting a tangible, actionable result was the group Joe was in as well, with Matt Stevens, Anthony Napa, and Eckert Bockwedel. I helped with the presentation. So without further ado, Joe, please come up and walk us through the solution you engineered in that very short time frame. And I hope that we can find some supporters after that short pitch to actually make a proof of concept for it.
Yeah, hello, I'm Joe. So yeah, we just started out with like the assumption that like one person gets one vote, and that we have some sort of system for mapping a unique digital identity to one person, and actually just giving a person one vote, and that like a token would basically represent the vote, and so you could send out like one token to everybody, and they could send these tokens to some address that represents an option in the vote. And then you can say like this wasn't tampered with in any way. So the objectives are voting is anonymous, so nobody knows who you voted for, and they can't really bribe you to vote in some way because they could never verify that you actually voted that way. And then that the outcome of the election is verifiable, so that would be like if a state gives you like two options for candidates, that they don't like just give 1,000 votes automatically to one candidate before the election even starts. So you should be able to publicly verify that. And then some of the components we used basically like, we assume that we have a Zcash like system to host our tokens. I think you could actually do this with a nonce-based like accounts system also. But yeah, you need like some sort of like nonce or transaction in a chain and a mempool, and then private addresses and transactions for the anonymity, and also like a view key for addresses, one like to verify the outcome of the election, so that like the government could say like, hey, these are the view keys of all the options, so you can actually see it. And also like if you are eligible to vote and nobody sends you a token, you could show your address and say like, look, nobody gave me a token to vote with. Yeah, that was my little sketch of how TXOs work. But yeah, so basically like the process would be that you actually cast your vote before you receive your voting token. So if you have like a parent and a child, normally in like Bitcoin or Zcash, if you submit like a child transaction, it'll just sit in the mempool. It's not a valid transaction yet until its parent comes in, and then all of a sudden it's a valid transaction and it goes through. So in order, like, our main motivation here was to prevent bribery, so that like I get my voting token and I don't just sell it to you for you to vote with. So you actually like cast your vote and it just sits in the mempool, and then after some deadline passes, like the voting deadline, all of the tokens are issued, and then it's just like all of the children are populated with their parents and they all go through. And then like these tokens would basically have a hash time lock contract with them. And so like if you had like two candidates or two options in your vote, there'd kind of like by default be a third candidate called abstain. And so like if you just never submit a transaction to the mempool to cast your vote, it just, in this HTLC, it just automatically goes to abstain. And the point of this is to add up all the votes at the end. So like the sum of the votes that the candidates have should equal the total number of people that are eligible to vote. So yeah, this, you can avoid the like, oh, there were 1,000 tokens like automatically voted for this person. And then, so you add them all up, and then there's like an abstinence option. And then like, the problem would be like if you kind of just make a child transaction, if like you buy my vote and I can just like send you a child transaction, and then you make like a grandchild transaction to vote. We want to prevent that, so that's like the only thing we didn't get to. But I think you could, either limit like how far down from the token issuance transaction it can go, or if you use like a nonce-based chain, you can say like, tokens are issued at a nonce of 1, and anything with a nonce of 3 or greater just automatically goes into like a cheater category. So that's just what I thought of this morning. So there you go.
Can you stay for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
Hey guys, I just want to ask how many people of you know UTXOs? Just hands up. Hands up. Oh, that's great. Okay, then we don't need to explain it. It's wonderful. So, follow up. If you think that this is an interesting approach, I think it would be super interesting if we could find a way to just do a test implementation. I don't know how available you are for this, but maybe this also helps just to have the structure to try it out. So if there's anybody who wants to support some proof of concepts here, please speak to me, and hopefully we find a way to coordinate it. Thanks.
Do you want to say anything else? No, yeah, first I just want to say thanks to all the participants who also were in the workshop. And it's awesome that this happened in, I think, like 30 minutes of group activity. So yeah, are we supposed to do questions?
We can do questions. Any questions? Not really. All right, let's not do questions. That's okay. Thank you again for the workshop. Yeah, thank you very much.